So with one receiver quickly getting even more acclimated into the Chiefs' offensive system, as well as the Bucs being atrocious at covering tight ends in the middle of the field, I think it's safe to say that Tampa is most likely in for a rude awakening this Monday in primetime for several reasons I'll explain in this video. I've also got to talk about a couple surprising injuries that popped up this week, my score prediction, and much more. But first, how about those? All right, heading into this game, Monday Night Football, Chiefs, Bucs, or Bucs Chiefs, since they are the ones traveling to Arrowhead. The Chiefs are 8.5-point favorites against this team, the 4-4 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are down their top two receiving targets in both Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Tampa started the season 3-1, looking a bit hot considering who they beat. We'll get there, but have since gone 1-3 to start the season. They blew out the Commanders week 1, then beat the Lions in week 2. They then surprisingly lost really bad to the Broncos, 7-26, before bouncing back and beating the Eagles 33-16. From there, though, they lost to the Falcons, a division rival, in overtime, smoked the piss-poor Saints, who cares, and then lost 31-41 to the Ravens on Monday Night Football, and are coming off yet another loss against the Falcons. That loss could have easily been a W for Tampa if they'd protected the football. Baker threw 2 picks, and running back Rachaad White lost a fumble. 3 turnovers are pretty difficult to overcome. In fact, the Bucs have a little bit of an issue with turnovers, at least recently. They fumbled once in last week's game, but then Baker has thrown 7 interceptions over the course of 3 games. He's only thrown 9 on the year, so 7 of 9 have happened in the last 3. That's pretty tough sledding. The Chiefs' defense didn't pick Minshew off last week, but they did force a fumble and recovered. So hopefully in this one, Baker keeps the streak going, and the Chiefs can force at least 1 turnover, which would be very helpful because the Bucs offense is very good, at least when you look at it from a statistical, analytical standpoint. They're basically a top 5 offense in every major category. 4th in points per game, scoring an average of 29.4 in each. That's quite a bit. 4th in yards per game, 1st on converting third downs, and they are also the 3rd best offense at scoring touchdowns in the red zone. Meanwhile, the Chiefs' defense, they are a legitimate problem for opponents. Spags is the freaking GOAT. Let's just get that out of the way first, but then they are the 5th best scoring defense, 2nd in rushing yards allowed per game, and 10th best at preventing touchdowns in the red zone. Now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are not the same on offense right now, okay? You're down Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, 2 of the main targets. They basically had all of Baker Mayfield's targets throughout the majority of the season, but again, they are out, and so you kind of have to shift and pivot. They are doing now more Chiefs-like drives, calculated, longer drives, quicker passes, and they have a 2-headed monster in running backs, with both of these guys splitting the workload both on the ground and in the passing game. I'm not really concerned about Bucky Irving or Rachaad White on the ground, as the Chiefs' run defense is playing lights out, holding opponents to 3.5 rushing yards per attempt. They are even better than that when you factor out quarterback scrambles and rushing yards gained by receivers on jet sweeps and stuff like that. But they will need to keep their eyes on these 2 backs, especially in the pass game. With Mike Evans and Chris Godwin out, Baker's top 3 targets are now running backs Bucky Irving and Rachaad White, as well as tight end Cade Otton. Before I get to Otton, we'll get there. Just look at how the Bucs use their running backs, because it's pretty impressive, really. Bucky Irving last week had 9 carries for 44 yards and 7 catches for 40 more. Then White, he had 6 carries for 29 yards on the ground, as well as 5 catches of his own for 38 yards. That is pretty unique, and sometimes they have both of these guys out on the field at the same time. Then get this. Bucky Irving, he has 3 rushing touchdowns and 0 receiving touchdowns on the year. Meanwhile, Rachaad White, he has 0 rushing touchdowns, but 3 through the air on the year. All in all, KC's defense needs to be well aware of both of these backs out there, as well as the aforementioned tight end, Cade Otton. He's clearly been Baker's go-to target out there, with receiving options a little bit thin. He had 8 catches for 100 yards 2 weeks ago, then 9 catches for 81 yards and 2 touchdowns last week. And with the Chiefs allowing an average of 7 catches for 80 yards per game to tight ends this season, they will do well to keep close tabs on Otton. Got to get the linebackers involved, maybe the safeties, Tranquil, you got Chamari Connor. There's a lot of guys out there. Just keep tabs on Otton, because after those 3, you do have wide receivers Sterling Shepard and 3rd-round draft pick Jalen McMillan. They're going to be the next guys up on the pecking order, but hopefully this helps the Chiefs secondary a bit out here. Last week, they played a Raiders team that wasn't full speed in their wide receiver room, and that kind of goes the same for the Bucs this week. And the cornerback room is a bit thin. You've got Jalen Watson out for the season on IR. We know that. But Najee Johnson, he might be out on Monday Night Football. He's in the concussion protocol. And at least at the time of this recording on Friday, his status is unknown, though he is trending in the right direction. That means you could see a combo of Chris Roland Wallace, the undrafted rookie, and Joshua Williams rotating in and out in the secondary. Roland Wallace recently snagged his first career INT. Very nice. And Joshua Williams, he obviously has plenty of experience in the Chiefs system. He has struggled at times, including a couple of tough back-to-back penalties last week, one on special teams, one on defense. But Dave Merritt, the defensive backs coach for the Chiefs, said he trusts having Josh out there. Now, something else to pay attention to is the fact that the Chiefs love to blitz. I mean, Spags is almost obsessed with sending extra players to the QB, but this year against the blitz, Baker Mayfield has been pretty freaking good. 7 touchdowns, 1 interception, and a rate of 130.1. So we shall see who can out-chess move the other, Spags and his surprising style blitzes, or Baker's ability to pick up on that either pre-snap or in real time. Something that should help the Chiefs out here a bit is the fact that they have a new pass rusher at their disposal, a guy who has a win percentage nearly as great as Chris Jones, and that's former Patriots pass rusher Joshua Uche. The plan is, per Andy Reid, to work him in with the D-line rotation-wise. Quote, as long as he can handle everything, getting used to what we do, Reid said there's a good chance he plays. Uche started practicing with the team on Thursday, and I don't see why he doesn't work in at least in some capacity. If D-Hop can do it in the wide receiver room his first day or first week here, then Uche can as well. Uche spoke with the media himself yesterday, sharing briefly about how he found out he was being traded. He thought something was going on. A little bit fishy. When on Sunday, the Patriots said, hey man, you're going to be a healthy scratch. You're not playing today. Well, the following day, he got a call letting him know that he was being traded to the back-to-back Super Bowl champions, and he seemed pretty excited about that, to say the least.
I'm playing with Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce. I'm playing with some of the greatest guys in the league right now, and just trying to get in where I fit in and help keep this thing rolling.
He went on to say he's doing everything he can to prepare to play Monday and help the team win, though of course that's going to be a coaching decision at the end of the day. Chris Jones is going to help free him up for sure, plus playing alongside dogs like George Karlaftis. And Mike Dana, if he plays, will only help further. Speaking of Dana, he was limited in practice for the first time this week. In a couple of weeks, last 2 weeks, he was DNP. He did not participate. And so he is at least making progress. I'm not sure if he's going to play Monday or not. Could be listed as questionable, but at least he is trending in an upward direction. Speaking of players injured that are progressing, before taking a look at the other side of the ball, Chiefs offense against Bucs defense, Andy Reid noted to the media this week that both running back Isaiah Pacheco and Charles Omenihu, who are both out on IR, are progressing in their rehab. He said Pacheco is getting there, doing fantastic. The exact timeline to return is out of Big Red's hands, but he is making great improvements in his progress, talking about Pacheco. The same goes for Charles Omenihu, though. Both are getting closer to return, though I would think Pacheco returns before Omenihu. Maybe we see both of them out there end of November or maybe mid-December. And before I get further into this Bucs and Chiefs preview, I've got my pick'ems in for this game, and I'm feeling pretty good about them. Underdog is not only the season-long partner of the channel, as well as the best and easiest place to play fantasy sports, but they're also offering up to $1,000 in bonus cash for new signups, plus a free Patrick Mahomes pick to use in one of your pick'ems. Now, for my first pick, I'm hitting the higher on Baker Mayfield completing 22.5 of his passes, because not only has he done this in 5 out of his last 6 games, but the Chiefs should limit the run game like they do in every game. That's going to force him to throw more passes. Then, with both Mike Evans and Chris Godwin out, one of Baker Mayfield's most trusted targets has been tight end Cade Otton. He's caught an average of 8.5 passes a game over the last 2, so hitting the higher on 4.5 catches almost feels like a gimme. Baker has also been targeting running back Rachaad White quite a bit in the passing game, which is why I'm going to hit the higher on him catching at least 3.5 passes, something he's done over the last 2 games as well. Next, I'm hitting the higher on Patrick Mahomes throwing for at least 240.5 passing yards. The Bucs passing defense is allowing an average of 255 yards per game, which is the 4th worst in the NFL. Then Mahomes has also thrown for more than that amount of yards in 3 of his last 4 games. Or again, new signups can turn this into a half yard for Patrick with the gimme pick. Then I'm hitting the higher as well on Travis Kelce catching for more than 59.5 receiving yards. He's done this in the last 3 or 4 games. Plus, the Bucs defense has allowed an average of 96.1 yards per game to tight ends since week 4. And with that, I put a quick $20 down for a chance to win 8.34x on my money. And whether you agree or disagree, you can support the channel by using code HBTC and make some pick'ems of your own for any of the games this weekend. The link to these picks are in the description down below if you want to use them. But again, any new signups will get up to $1,000 in bonus cash plus that free Mahomes pick in the lobby. Now, I think this is the week for the Chiefs offense to put the hammer down. Or at least this is the week where they need to not put the defense in tough situations like last week when Mahomes had that pass tipped. It was an INT and the Raiders had the ball at 3-yard line after that turnover. And the defense, yes, then had to stonewall them. Now, when I say put the hammer down, the Chiefs offense has already been averaging 27 points per game through 3 games in October. So keep that pace up. I just hope this is the game where turnovers hopefully are kept to a goose egg for the first time this season. Mahomes has had quite the spell of bad luck this year, having only 7 turnover-worthy plays, yet throwing 9 interceptions. An example of someone on the opposite end of the spectrum would be Josh Allen. He's had 12 turnover-worthy plays, yet somehow only has 1 interception on the season, which is insane luck falling in his favor, but I digress. The Bucs defense has 5 INTs on the year, which hopefully stays 5, please God, after this game. But one thing that stands out to me when looking at the Tampa Bay Bucs defense is they've racked up 19 sacks over the last 6 games. That's 21 on the year, which is tied for 7th best. The question is, with that being known, can the left tackle spot hold up? Andy Reid shared with the media this week that even though Wanye struggled a bit against the Raiders, he would remain the starter. Yaya Diaby, the second-year pass rusher for the Bucs, is one of the main guys to watch out for along their D-line. He can kind of line up anywhere, is the best run defender along the D-line, and also leads the team in pressures with 31. Then, of course, Vita Vea is no slouch himself along the interior. They have other guys too, but those are 2 in particular that stand out to me. Tampa has shown they can get to the QB. However, Mahomes has only taken 12 sacks on the year, which is tied for 4th fewest. I trust overall, for the most part, the Chiefs O-line to figure it out, especially with Jawan Taylor playing great right now, 2 games in a row with no penalties, as well as the interior trio being among the best interior trio in the league. They just got to watch that left side. And if Andy Reid says Wanye Morris is starting, then okay, he's the guy. So please have a better game than last week, Wanye. The Bucs defense as a whole, they're a bit weird because they play tough, but statistically, they give up a piss ton of yards and points. They are allowing 26.6 points per game. That's 5th worst in the league. They are 30th in yards per game allowed, 29th in passing yards allowed, 19th in rushing yards allowed. But again, they know how to get to the quarterback and hold up decently in the red zone. They are 13th best inside the 20 at this point in time. I would expect the Chiefs to literally hit the ground running with Kareem Hunt, probably feeding him the rock at least 15 times. And then, of course, we will see P. Ryan out there on 3rd downs, maybe Carson Steele getting a few carries himself, and the emergence in the passing game of DeAndre Hopkins in his 2nd game with the team. Andy Reid shared that D-Hop's role will only continue to increase. Andy and the staff are comfortable with that, and so is he. Because of the work he's been putting in, Hop has reportedly been arriving early and staying late and just soaking up the playbook as quickly as humanly possible. Mahomes himself seemed pretty confident in Nuke when he spoke with the media this week, saying that his ability to win, and then he himself connecting with him when he does win, will not only take pressure off of guys like Travis Kelce, but will open things up down the field. Well, that's exactly what I hope happens or expect to happen this Monday, if it's not pouring down rain the whole time, is for the Bucs defense to struggle. Which guy they should pay attention to the most in the middle of the field? Future Hall of Fame receiver DeAndre Hopkins or future Hall of Fame tight end Travis Kelce? Well, this year the Bucs defense has been one of the worst in the league against tight ends, as I shared in my pick'em segment earlier. So I really do think Travis Kelce has himself yet another DAY. One thing to note is that Bucs safety Antoine Winfield Jr., the peace sign guy, popped up on the injury report today with a foot issue being limited, which is unfortunate for them if he trends downwards from here. More on the injury report later, though, because one thing I'm curious about is, will the threat of both D-Hop and Kelsey finally help unlock the deep passing game. Andy said that defenses are doing a good job with their shell coverage, which allows them to get to the plays underneath. He's fine with that, and they are basically just taking what the defense gives them. Mahomes has been playing great ball. He doesn't try to force the deep ball like he used to, and instead just gets it to the open guy, managing the offense very well. Regarding the deep ball, Mahomes said he's continuing to find the balance, taking what's there most times with the goal of moving the chains. Plus, knowing the defense can get stops and having leads in a lot of these games has them focusing on first downs and calculated drives to drain the clock more than anything else. He ultimately just wants to win, doesn't care about stats or anything like that. And while I do respect that, a win is a win at the end of the day for sure, I still would like to see them take a little bit more chances at throwing the ball deep down the field. They do this at a lower rate than any other team in the NFL. Meanwhile, they have the fastest receiver in the NFL on their roster, and Patrick Mahomes, a once-upon-a-time gunslinger, as well on the roster. So maybe we see a couple more deep shots in this one after seeing 0 last week against the Raiders. But again, if it's a torrential downpour, then maybe we won't, and ultimately, who cares? I guess a dub is a dub, but unlocking the deep ball downfield will only help the middle of the field and the run game that much more. Outside of those three, D-Hop, Worthy, Kelsey, look for either Noah Gray or Justin Watson to be another safety valve for Patrick Mahomes. Then let's see if KC can continue their red-hot streak in the red zone. They are 7 for 9 in the last 2 weeks, scoring a touchdown almost every time, which is quite impressive considering at one point in time this season, they were 29th in the NFL at scoring touchdowns inside the 20. Meanwhile, they're going up against the 13th best red zone defense, but all in all, I think Andy Reid and company are going to have a solid game plan, and the Chiefs should come out of this game with yet another W. Andy Reid's been very good statistically against NFC teams in his career, at least since becoming the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think they moved to 8-0 on the season after Monday Night Football. Nearly everybody is picking the Chiefs to win as it is, as am I, opting for a 30-20 Chiefs W that not only might very well possibly be much closer than that, but even lower scoring if the rain becomes a real issue. Anyway, make sure to let me know your score prediction in the comments down below. And from here, I got to get into the injury report at least for Thursday and Friday. The final injury report will be tomorrow, Saturday, because of a Monday Night Football game. Everything shifts one day. So this isn't the final injury report, just how things are trending. Offensive tackle Ethan Driscoll returned today after being sick yesterday. Safety Najee Johnson upgraded today. He did not practice yesterday, but was limited today, which means he is progressing, at least in an upward direction through concussion protocol. The only player who didn't practice either day and won't play, I'm about 99% sure won't play, is wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster with the hamstring. He'll probably miss this game and maybe even the next, so no surprises there. Then, Mike Dana has been limited for the second day in a row, which doesn't scream to me he's playing for sure, but is definitely progressing. Everyone else on the injury report, save one, fully practiced today, with only 2 more Chiefs players worth mentioning. Kareem Hunt was limited yesterday, but fully practiced today, which is good news. Then tight end Jared Wiley is the only guy who popped up on the injury report as limited after fully practicing yesterday, with his knee being listed. This is noteworthy because another tight end, Jody Fortson, who took to social media this week saying he tore his ACL and meniscus, so that's definitely a season-ending injury. He was placed on IR earlier this week, as we knew. We just didn't know the extent of the injury, and it's definitely a season-ending one. But with him being placed on IR, you now have just 3 tight ends on the roster, right? Well, Wiley popped up, limited today, and that means the only 2 for sure healthy guys right now is Noah Gray and Travis Kelsey. So we might see the only tight end that's on the practice squad, Peyton Hendershot, elevated come Monday night. Then for the Bucs, Mike Evans obviously won't go this week. You then had linebacker Levante David, defensive tackle Greg Gaines, running back Bucky Irving, and wide receiver Sterling Shepard. They have not practiced at all this week. DNP's Thursday and Friday, though I think Bucky Irving should play from what I understand. They're just resting that toe. Sterling Shepard popped up with a hamstring in last week's game, and we shall see if he is good to go. Then again, safety Antoine Winfield Jr. popped up with a foot injury today. It sure seems like to me that out of these 2 teams, the Chiefs are the ones that are less banged up, and they're also the ones I think is going to end up getting the W, moving to 8-0 on the year. So let's see what happens Monday, and until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?